Hello everyone, and thank you for watching. My name is Neferititi. I know it's been a while, but like lots of you, I was processing a lot of energy. I've been making such leaps and bounds with my ascension, my spiritual growth and development, and I wanted to make a video today. And it's weird because I've been in such a state of stagnation for the past maybe month or so when it comes to putting out content like this. And I know a lot of it has to do with the clearing that's been going on, but I was really just so disappointed in myself. And so I had to work on forgiveness first, because I know that just like you know, we're all going through this process together. We all have lessons to learn and we all have lessons to teach, right? And I had to be mindful of that and remember to practice gentleness and patience with myself as I go through major transitions. I mean, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I was homeless, twice, and I was going back and forth with how I wanted to do my business and if I wanted to continue the work that I was doing in the fitness industry. And I've had to sort a lot of that out in a short amount of time. And I'm not making up any excuses, because we all have a job to do here, right? But I just wanted to put that out there. And I was sitting and thinking about what I was going to talk about in this video, and I feel like I have so much I want to say and so much information to convey to you all. And I asked my higher self, what am I to talk about today? And I just heard start from the beginning. And that meant a lot to me, because as we're going through this ascension process, we're realizing that time is an illusion, right? So all of the time that I may have thought that I wasted, I was actually in that now and still in that now, if that makes any sense. So I can move forward from this point because all power is in the now. And so that, in addition to me sharing what literally was the beginning for me when it comes to this ascension process and this whole volunteering to come here, right? And so I'm calling this message, remembering your sovereignty, remembering my sovereignty. And that just basically means remembering who we are. And I remember being 6 years old, standing in a field across the street from my house. Like many of y'all, I grew up in a very highly dysfunctional home. I might have mentioned this in some of my other videos. And I just remember on this particular day, my parents had gotten into a really bad argument, and it got physical, and I was just so distraught by the whole experience. I remember running out into the field and praying, why am I here? Even at that age, I knew I wasn't a resident of Earth, I guess. I didn't belong here. I just felt like I was from somewhere else. And being 6 years old, I just assumed that all 6-year-olds thought that, that's what we do, especially if you grew up in an environment where they don't nurture these kinds of, imaginings that children have. Especially not in my home environment. That's just not something that happened. So I was taught to kind of suppress that, because there were other things going on that were of more importance. And so I just remember going back to the story, standing out in the field and asking, why am I here? And I remember hearing very clearly that you have a very special mission. Your life is going to make a difference. I'm trying to remember the exact phrase. I was 6 years old, so but I just remember it being along those lines, you're here for a very important purpose. And I had no idea what that meant at the time. I was just like, okay, so what does that mean? right? And as the years went on, of course, you learn the lessons, you go through things, even if you don't understand at the time why you are having certain experiences, they often make sense in hindsight. Because I remember a quote from Wayne Dyer. He said that any great teacher is going to experience many, many dark nights of the soul. And to me, that made a lot of sense, because it seemed like going through my teenage years and like early adult years, I seemed to have it harder than a lot of people in terms of circumstances. Now, keep in mind, I was, most of my friends came from single parent homes, dysfunctional homes. I mean, that's a lot of us. So I'm not, like, again, not using that as an excuse. I mean, because that's just, I think, almost one of the qualifications of most light workers, starseeds, is to grow up in some sort of tumultuous environment. But anyway, whether that's home or school or whatever. But getting back to this story, again, just growing up through my teenage years and having, a really rough time with my identity and trying to fit in and feeling like I was the odd person because I didn't want to party. I didn't want to waste a whole lot of time doing stupid shit. Now, I did some stupid things, mind you, but I mean things like that just didn't make any sense to me. Like, I wasn't that kid that was always trying to go to everybody's concerts and like worship people, and I wasn't easily peer pressured. And so that caused a lot of issues for me, in terms of allowing people to get close to me. I've always had trust issues. And that's something that I've become conscious of through this ascension process, this awakening process. That's where a lot of my interpersonal issues have stemmed from, was this inability to trust. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that this is not my real home, right? This is not your real home. If you're watching this, that's most likely true. And so, fast forwarding through all of the lessons that I had to learn, and all of the tools that I acquired along the way, going through my 20s and my 30s, becoming a yoga practitioner and really, really loving it, learning to meditate. And it was life circumstances that kind of pushed me into these things, right? And helped me to discover what my purpose is, which is a teacher. That's another thing that I heard very clearly when I was meditating one day. That is my archetype, that is my role here. And so in some capacity, I have been doing that for the past, 14, 15 years. But I feel like, just like many of you, that it's time to make an evolutionary leap of some sort, that we need to really bring forth more of our gifts, more of the tools that we have to anchor in this light. And I don't know about you, but that's felt like a lot of pressure. But again, a lot of astrology that's going on is connected to this energy as well, this ascension process. It's all connected. But, for me personally, I'm a Sagittarius, so I have Saturn transiting my second house along with Pluto and the South Node. So this is a huge focus for me, is bringing forth these talents and abilities. And I think that's pretty much a collective focus as well as we go through 2019, which a lot of other people have spoken about, that this is a year where light workers are going to break out, where we're really being asked to step up. And I have to really own it now and get rid of the dross, because I know what it is. I see it for what it is, which is really a practical way of describing shadow work, right? Is seeing what it is. I heard a teacher describe it this way, that shadow work is being afraid of that man in the corner of your room until you flick the lights on and realize that it's only a pile of clothes with the hat on the top. Right? So I think that's where we are all at, well, the majority of us, as we're going through this year and into 2020. I just feel like things are going to be speeding up. And so I wanted to make this video to just kind of see if anybody else can relate to what I'm talking about, and just to really tell my story in a nutshell. And I'm sure as I do more and more videos, I'll, you know, touch on some of my experiences, because I've been through a lot. And it, you know, I've handled it though with a lot of grace and a lot of prayer, which has been a huge part of my life ever since I was very, very little. I've always been a very spiritual person. I've always been very, very connected to the Ascended Masters. I know this now as I've gone through this process, and I've learned what these experiences were that I had growing up. Now I know that I wasn't going crazy, that I wasn't just imagining these things, and that we do have unseen support around us all the time. All the time. But again, the quote Wayne Dyer, who I think is one of the most profound spiritual teachers to have ever lived, okay? He said something along these lines, that we're always connected to spirit, always, but it's up to us to keep that connection clean. So we have to constantly examine how rusty, how corroded, how damaged our connection is. And it's coming from us. It's not coming from spirit, because we're always connected, right? And a lot of what we have to do in practical terms on a daily basis, I feel, as light workers, as teachers, as way showers, is to practice self-actualization, which to me is sovereignty in action, okay? And there's 3 keys to self-actualization according to Abraham Maslow. And the first one is to be independent of the good opinion of other people. And the second one is to have no investment in power over other people. The third one is to be detached from outcomes. And I'll say that again. To me, this is a practical way to implement and really anchor in sovereignty, okay? Because we have to be independent of the good opinion of other people, right? Because we're all here to do a job. We're all here to anchor in this light, to be way showers, to help Gaia ascend, to help us all evolve fast, okay? And we have to have no investment in power over other people, meaning that we can't be trying to tell other people how to ascend. We can guide people, we can help people by sharing our experiences and offering suggestions, but we should not ever judge anyone. We shouldn't try to make people fit into this mold, like this is how you ascend, and this is what needs to be happening if you're ascending. It's different for everyone, you know. No investment in power over other people. We don't need to tell other people how to ascend, because we're all ascending. It's going to happen for all of us. Everybody has different timelines they need to live out. Everybody has karma. Everybody has lessons they need to learn still, even as we ascend to 4D and 5D. Okay, as long as we are still ascending and we still have levels to get to, we have lessons to learn. Okay, so there is no judgment, and we need to be detached from outcomes, which means that we are not responsible for, well, let me rephrase that, because we are responsible, but we are not supposed to be connected to this material plane in that way, that we are to exactly determine every single kind of way that a situation can turn out, because we're shutting out all possibility when we do that. Okay, if there's a higher timeline that wants to manifest for you, then you need to be open to that, right? As opposed to being attached to a certain way that you think things should play out, because maybe you're afraid of having to go through certain things. And I'm just going to let you know, if you don't know already, as you ascend, you're going to go through things, because that's how we work these things out. Okay, they come to the surface so that we can examine them, so that we can release them. And that happens through a working its way up and manifesting somehow in our experience. Okay, that was a hard one for me to kind of understand, because you have to really not be in victim mentality to have that awareness, okay, of I just am here to anchor in this light. I'm here to be a way shower. So I'm going to do my best to live my life by example, to love myself and forgive myself when I make mistakes. I mean, we all know self-love is the fuel for this journey. So if we have our practical steps, which is the self-actualization, independent of good opinion of other people, no investment in power over others, and detaching from outcome, the fuel for that is self-love, practical self-love, whatever that means for you. Okay? And I feel, again, as long as we're here on this earth plane and teaching and learning, we can love ourselves more. Even if we feel like we love ourselves now, there's always room for more self-love. Okay, so then we can fill ourselves up and that love can extend outward. So I hope this video made sense. I talked about a lot of things, but this is just basically an overview of what I've come to realize over the past maybe month and a half that I've taken a break from making videos. But I just really want to get back into learning and teaching with all of you. And I'm very, very happy now to be settled and in a place where I can feel at peace and I can feel safe making this content for you. And yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited for 2019. I'm excited for this energy. And thank you so much for watching. I am Neferititi, and I'm a spiritual life coach and mind-body fitness instructor. And you can find all of my information in the description box below. So thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.